Okay, so I think we'll be starting for one of the Next-10 initiative would be to talk about a project technical priority and review that. If you don't know me and us, this is Michael. I'm Jean. Hello, everyone. Yay!
And just imagine you're in a square, because we're going to try and make it fairly interactive. And so.
Yeah, so one quick agenda for today, at least for this session, would be to review the survey. So we run a survey for the past 3-ish weeks, 10 of April to, I think, 13th of April, something like that, end of April. We will also have 2 boards with some question for you or part that you think we should improve on what we should be working. Just discuss about that and other topic, and also start maybe some deep dive discussion.
Yeah, so on the project technical boards, if you've been to any of the past collaborator summits or looked at any of the Next-10 work, we've got a list of technical priorities identified for the project. And so we want to use this opportunity to brainstorm, make sure we're not missing any, make sure that, we still think that these are the top technical priorities for the project. So we did that the last one about 6 months ago, and we found that that's quite good. So probably something we'll do every collaborator summit. And then the community priorities are a little bit like, okay, more as a set of collaborators, what do we think is important?
Yep. Just a quick word about the last survey. We got a bit more than almost 1,700 people answering the survey, and everyone who took the survey finished it. So thank you. Thank you for your time. I think the amount of time was less than 5 minutes, something like that, to answer everything. So it was a quick survey, but thank you for participating and answering. That's great. We will go maybe, so the Next-10 will publish the full survey with the results and everything, just some key areas that are quite nice to have. First, a question that was asked by many collaborators was how people are using, or which package manager people are using. Seems like NPM is a major one with more than 60%. Yarn, so we didn't moved Yarn in different version nor NPM on other stuff, but for NPM the mostly used version are 7, 8, and 9. So great. If you want, I will have more defined statistic for that. Yarn, it's mostly Yarn 1 that is used, not a lot of Yarn 2 nor 3. PNPM, I don't remember which version it was. And we also saw a few stuff like Duo and JSPM. I didn't knew that it was still running and existing, but basically only two people over 2 and 3. I think it was a number. I had to look for JSPM 7 years without release, stuff like that. So if you are here using JSPM, please change. Could be great for your safety. Oh, okay. Great. So we found one user using it. Where's the second one? Do you have another account? Sorry. Okay. Another part was about the majority of people use NVM if they want to change between multiple versions. The other part was, so I put it as non-relevant because some people but mostly it was useless. For next year, I think we will remove the other part. It wasn't another version solution to change version of Node.js. It was just people answering with a specific NVM version or other stuff. Also, what about some technical priorities? So we have a list that we put through last year, even a bit before. The main stuff that everyone agrees would be modern HTTP solution for Node.js. Still have a lot of latest feature from ECMAScript, also working on documentation, multi-threading, ESM is still a big issue. But I think we'll provide the full result on everything through the Next-10.
I think some of these are interesting, though, as we brainstorm for what we think is important. This is just a little bit of the broader community feedback on those same priorities, because that was one of our questions. Of our documented technical priorities, what's important to you? And so this is like a broader swath than just our collaborators. So it's nice to have that either agreement or non-agreement with what we thought was important.
Yes, and just for the other part, I did a quick overview. Mostly it's about speed, how to have a Node.js that is faster for everyone. Also something about executable, so being able to generate some kind of executable. And I don't know if we have people from the single executable team here, but that's a great initiative. Also type and TypeScript. And last one was interop using Rust or C, C++, and like Node API binding, stuff like that. So that's the main point about the technical priorities. A good point, pain point using ESM/CommonJS. It was like 20 pages of people answering with information like that. The main one are really linked system, file path, everything like __, file name, dir name, stuff like that. The basic interop, how do you build an application using both ESM, CGS, and how do you do that? Support, also linked to support for library, but also for tool that you cannot really change, like using Lambda or using JS for people doing front end. You have a bad developer experience when you try to mix both of them. Some people were like, because CommonJS is only used by Node.js and not an official standard, when is the end of life for CommonJS? And also there is a key topic about people using TypeScript. So not really, I would say, needing really ESM as a default pure JavaScript standard because they rely on TypeScript.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, in this case, we asked if you had problems in ESM. So we had a general questions on what your pain points were, and there were lots of different things covered, but we had a specific question about ESM pain points. So it's because we asked, we got a lot of feedback, and it's quite interesting, but I didn't want people to think that that's the only, like people didn't spontaneously come up with all of this on their own.
Yes. On the question about do you think that you will be migrating an application or create a new application using ESM by default? I think the answer was like 60% of the people are going to use ESM almost as a default or the main target for the next project they will be doing, at least from the survey. And also we ask if some people had like recurring issue when using Node.js or working with Node.js. I did a top 5, extended to 6. And I don't have a specific order, just the way I was seeing everything. Documentation, like improve the documentation to find or to help people and to provide examples, stuff like that, not just the pure implementation in Node.js. Is TypeScript becoming native for Node.js, also linked to providing better typing and type for Node.js, around diagnostic, perf analysis, which can be always hard to do. Some key topic about worker and how do you work with, if you use worker or some other solution, how do you pass messages that are not only string, and how can you work with better performances by sharing or sending information one side to another side. A bit link to diagnostic would be a lot of people were like having memory leak issue, and some people asked also the support, HTTP3 support for Node.js.
Yeah, certainly the one that surprised me a little bit was like lots of people talking about threading and multi-threading and using Node. That was a theme that it certainly stood out in that list of recurring issues that I wouldn't have guessed necessarily up front.
Yes, like it wasn't 5, 10 people like we had. Maybe not 100 of people, but quite a lot of people were talking about worker and threading and performance linked to that. So we finish a quick review. I don't know if we can, so we can choose a link. Do you have the link, Rui, maybe? Do you have the link of the Easy Retro board? Or should I
think in the issue, like if you go to the agenda,
yes,
and you go to the issue that's linked off the agenda,
yes.
then
So
the Easy Retro link is there, and you can click on that versus having to try and type in that super long thing.
Yes, or if you can just put it on Slack, there is a channel called Collaborator Summit. Or I can find it. Like I'll let you talk.
There. It's the first one, isn't it?
Yes, it will be the first. Yeah. But if you want, I can copy and paste if you want to talk about that.
Sure. Okay.
Ouais. On Slack. Yeah, okay.
So yeah, I just went to basically to the schedule issue. Then in the issue for this particular session, there's the easy retro. And the idea is like we did in the past.
Oh, great.
We'll start the clock, and people can put into, what do you think is the most important in terms of technology trends, features, and other, in terms of like those, things that we think is important to mind.
Yep. So so there is a board. Thanks, Ulysse, to post the link on the Slack. This one, we do have 3 categories. One about the big technology trend that are really linked to like the full ecosystem, not necessarily just Node.js, but where Node.js can be used. Next one will be key feature for Node.js that you think made sense to have, and the last one will be any other topic or idea that we could work on to improve Node.js. So we'll give you like 5-ish minutes to add multiple topics on everything. So at least to have a global overview. I think we won't be able to go through every one of them, and we'll organize some kind of Next-10 event to like go through everything, group everything, and define new technical priorities, I guess. Yeah. Yes. Great question. So we'll have 2 boards. This one is technical priorities. There is also a second one. If you already like put some input inside this one, you can also add your feedback on the community one. Feel free. I think the link is also on Slack already. So, sorry? Okay. Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was like, am I going to figure out some way to do it? And I'm like,
Do you want to do it? We can do it on my computer.
no, I'm fine. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Let's take, I think, 2 more minutes for this one at least.
Sounds good.
What? Yep. Yeah, I will be grouping. Like, we won't do it now, but it will be done for Next-10, and we'll like display the result and stuff like that. I think we can maybe do it.
We can quickly go through and group them, and then
Yep.
we have a section where you can actually like add some votes so that we can get them to see which ones of those pop up as an overall. That's what we've usually done anyway.
Yep. Should we officially display the result?
People still working away.
Is it good for everyone? Need more time? No?
Everybody who's done, put your hand up.
That's great.
Anybody else not? Okay, well, we'll wait for everybody. No.
I think I can click.
That's true.
Okay, time to see the result.
I think you might have to do that if it's your account.
I was doing it, so that's good. So, some of the topic. Great. Technology trends, serverless observability, Rust and NAPI, beta perf, bridge, Winter CG, server render web app, observability, GSDoc for generating TypeScript type, Rust, diagnostic and observability, WebAssembly, HTTP API, larger core, standard lib, package policy, and supply chain security with respect to dependency.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so like that's, which ones do we think are duplicate?
I think we have a few, one about observability. We have two observability and one that should be diagnostic and observability.
I think you might have to do the merge.
Oh, okay. I can do it. Oh.
Maybe I can.
Oh, I can do it if you want.
Yeah, okay. Why don't you see if you can.
Okay, I can do it. So I think the two observability are going together. We do have diagnostic and observability going with observability. Several, yeah, we do have two Rust thing.
Although are those actually the same in that one is supporting Rust through Node API, which is one thing. The other one sounded like somebody was more like Rust in core itself.
Like, I don't know who, the first one, Rust, easier and API was me. I don't know who. Okay.
So I wrote the Rust as first-class citizen, and I didn't meant the NAPI or similar, but actually to be able to write core modules in Rust rather than in C++. So I guess it's a different thing. I mean, just.
It could be different, but with Node API, we did talk about like, would you ever end up writing Node core modules using Node add-on API? So today you could already build and probably use Node API to build and integrate Rust with Node itself.
But let's say if I want to add a new core module, I have to remove Node API, which is an additional layer which basically brings down.
Right. So that's the flip side of the challenge. So okay.
I would love to add eventually in the part
Yeah.
not to do like that, but like if I had a new C++ module, I could directly add a Rust or C.
Right. Okay. So yeah, those probably are not the same. I don't know if you can split them out.
Yeah, I can split them.
Okay.
And merge. Okay, should we? Is it working? Yeah. Should we, because on my one, the Rust, easier and API, everything better perf, improve bridge part. I think it's linked also to WebAssembly WASM. You wrote this one, Michael. Are you okay if we merge it, or did you have something else in mind?
Sorry, which two?
The second one, Rust with easier and API, better perf, improve bridge part. So for me, it was really to provide a better way to add like external module. Would it be the same as WebAssembly WASM, or are you just...
WebAssembly WASM, I had in mind like our support for WebAssembly and Node as a runtime.
Okay, great. So in that case, I think we don't have duplicate anymore on this part. We have security, package policy, size, HTTP, GSDoc. Okay, great. Just a quick question for server-rendered web app. I don't know if someone here put that, but what would be like the topic behind that? Are we? Okay.
I don't know if somebody maybe Ethan, who works at a company who does this, might be able to speak more. But I was just thinking this is probably a trend that we might want to have at least some something to address at some point. I don't know.
Okay. Okay, great. Time to go for the second column about Node.js feature. So we have NDC in Node when? Great question. Where is Matteo?
I think that one actually fits with the HTTP API is one which I put in.
I think, yeah, on a Node.js feature, we have multiple parts on HTTP. There is WebSocket, HTTP 3, new HTTP 1 server similar to the NDC initiative, unified HTTP architecture. I guess, yeah, so performance improvement, I saw this one.
So for at least the Indici one, I threw that one up there. I think like years ago when Indici first got created, there was all that, oh, like this is the new way to do like networking for Node.js. I don't know why it never kind of landed in Node or just outright replaced the Node API or at least lived next to it, the one in core. I understand that it's easier to iterate Indici, having it live outside of core, but I think there is still like fetch is in there now, and I deal with this at my job where we're like, we want to use Indici fetch, we want to use the one inside of Node core, but it's only in Node 18, non-experimental. Yet we can run it on Node 14 if we just pull it in from Indici itself. So there's this weird like, there's some discrepancies there that makes it difficult to do things, and like sort of like what's the next step for Indici? It is a Node project. Why isn't it core? How can we get it into core, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I think near the end we're talking, well, we have a slide where we plan to talk a little bit more about deep dives. So that maybe is something where we need another deep dive to sort of get into more details like, okay, what would the roadmap be? We got fetch in after the last one in the discussions, but you're right that now maybe that deep dive would help us get going again.
That sort of overlaps. I think something that didn't make it on here, maybe we should add is vendoring. So I think last Collab Summit, we talked about it a lot around like I heard that. The Semver package. So I don't know if we want to add maybe that and group that with Indici in Node, right?
Yeah, I think HTTP is a big enough topic that I'd leave it under that one.
But I guess the main topic. But yeah, I guess the main topic just behind that would be to discuss about like widely used packages should be maybe not added, but mostly linked to some Semver version.
So I think that having Semver in core is probably something that we should do, and even if it's not, to the point that maybe not even vendoring to some extent, but it's just part. It's just part of the like. I have that package installed on every single project that I use. So at this point, it's so pervasive that it's just what I'm saying is there is a difference between vendoring and exposing the API and having the development of that API developed straight in core, and to the point of Semver. On the latest conversation that we had was, yeah, maybe we should just move inside the tree and that's it. It's not even on dApps, okay? It's for that specifically. Because there are a few optimizations. I was chatting with Yagith on this, and there are a few optimizations that could be done because apparently for a lot of use cases, Semver is actually the bottleneck. And I was surprised by this, but it's comparing the two version numbers is actually hard. So yeah, anyway, this is the, and the difference from that from Undici is it's that certain things are very harder, like it's a much larger code base compared to Semver, and certain thing managing that kind of large code base inside Node would be problematic in terms of the internal tooling that we have in Node. Like things have improved a little bit in Node on that side, but on especially on because we now have Node test, we have a few things utility that we can use, but the testing framework and the way things are run were actually very hard to support, like for certain things that we need in Undici, for example. So for that, we'll probably need to be staying as, like I would take it as a vendoring approach for that specific one, like we do right now. So it's.
Wasn't there some pushback even though on Semver, and that was why we talked about the vendor approach instead? Wasn't there at least a few voices that were like,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that seems. I don't know, but it seems. I at this point, it's you can't make everybody happy, and I think the benefit of having it in core would outweigh the if the NPM team is more or less in agreement on it. It's yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking, if we cannot close enough, soon enough get Undici in core or stuff like that, for similar initiative, can we just start supporting, bear with me with the idea, an official list of directly supported packages from Node, like Undici is, something like that, even for other topics eventually out of HTTP initiative. So people know that, let's say, if they install Undici, is directly supported by Node core team somehow, and is not part of core, follows somewhere on their track and so forth.
I think you're maybe talking about like a standard library of some sort, which is, I mean, it's like a flavor of that. That's an interesting topic.
We started the PKG.js org on GitHub partially for this exact reason. I think it's hosting the parsargs already. And I think the structure around that was specifically to give them a bit more freedom. Like that's why it's a separate org and not in the, because I think there's like a lot of attention.
But even like
maybe you
Undici
remember
is in Node core. So like I think it's already under the umbrella, but the question is, I think you're saying, can there be something slightly more official than?
The thing is that Undici is not core. We know that is part of core and has been made by other core member. People outside the core team don't know about it. I don't think you can actually, unless you notice that the repo is in the Node.js repo. I mean, it's not advertised anywhere, specifically in the Node.js documentation. For instance, I'm talking, you go in the HTTP documentation in Node and say, oh, you know, you have an alternative. You can use Undici for this topic if you want, and something like that.
Only fetch is accessible from Undici, though.
Right. Well, what I meant is though it's the repo itself. It's like Node.js/Undici, right? Which is a little bit where I think you were going in terms of like you can have it under a repository, it's already under the Node organization. So it's got like from the organization perspective, it's got that credibility. And I think you're saying, should we be going further and like saying like here's a list of packages that although are not in core have some special status, right? Effectively.
It also helps us to reduce a little bit the stagnation, because while you stay conservative within Node, you can have external module. I was saying that partially because if you have this kind of supported packages, you can start experimenting on some areas and so reduce the stagnation within Node without actually affecting the Node integrity, security, and so on. So you can start testing a little bit more eventually.
I think another simple change, at least for like Undici, could be to publish it on npm using an @Node.js, like organization or scope, because at least at Vercel, we used to have a lot of packages just published individually, but then we started putting everything under the @Vercel, and that makes it really easy for people to just implicitly trust, oh, we know where this is coming from, that's the org name, and it doesn't matter who the maintainer might be. It doesn't even matter where the code lives, if it's in the Node.js org or not on GitHub. If it's published under the @Node.js tag, that gives a lot of trust. And it's super automatable now. We can build like pipelines on GitHub Actions and making sure that we're not giving like NPM publishing permissions to the wrong folks. It can be done even at small level packages. It's super automatable. So that's a
Yeah,
simple
so
change.
that I think is maybe like, again, just thinking of ideas for follow-on deep dives. That sounds like another, like, revisiting the standard library, like, and it could be as simple as like, hey, anything that we publish under the Node.js org is something that comes, like, I don't know, it may have to be comes from PKGS or the Node org or something like that. I think we should probably, just
Yep.
looking at the time,
I think
probably
we-
go on to the,
To move to the next one for the community part.
or I was thinking to get people to vote quickly on this one.
Or we can keep it open like 1 more hour, and we can close it. Like,
Although people don't tend to vote afterwards.
Yeah, true. That's
I think
true. Okay, yeah, that's true.
Let's spend like 2 minutes. If everybody could just tag, like,
Yep.
I'd say, take your top 6 and add a vote onto them, and that'll just give us sort of a general feel for how people, and then we'll move on to the community one.
I just activated the voting part, so I think I put 6. Yeah. And I think you can also like, you can only vote one time per card. But yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I should put all these.
Yeah. So are you doing it? Okay. No. Oh. True. I will just unmerge those two. Yep.
Where is the link?
On OpenJS. It's on Slack.
Okay.
Or if you want OpenJS, it should be the next priority. Okay. And you have 2 links. So yeah, first one technical and second one. Oh, yeah, great.
Okay, has everybody finished voting?
Ooh, first class TypeScript. Great. Yes. Yeah. It was the same 1 year ago.
In the survey, it also shows quite well. So it's like reflected. Sorry, I got it. It says, I was just pointing out, like, the survey is quite interesting in that a number of the things that tend to come up high in our discussions here are reflected in that broader, like, almost 1,700 people. I could still see, good support for TypeScript, good HTTP APIs. We're quite near or at the top. So it's nice to see that at least, what we've been thinking is important also aligns with the broader community there too.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll move on to the other board.
And okay, so no time to go through the second one, which will be mostly linked to community brainstorm. It's the same process, so we just have 3 different columns. One would be where we want to focus and work on new, let's say, initiative or what we can improve, or at least where people think we should work. Second part would be like issue, obstacle, barrier that we are facing, and the last one, everything that's good.
Okay, so we'll start our time now. Go. Don't hold back on those obstacles. And I think anybody not done yet? Put your hand up.
People are speaking, so I think it's good.
Okay. Go. Good. That's a good test.
So for the result, up. Okay. Do you want to go through the list, Michael?
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'll merge if they look the same. But
Okay, great.
go for it.
So key focus area, we seems to have a bit of the same. So observability, increase the outreach to a new, more collaborator and maintainer, new contributor onboarding, balancing evolution and stability, documentation security standard, introducing and improving standard-based interface to encourage a use over existing non-standard equivalent, JavaScript. Okay. Okay, so for the, just the key focus area. I don't really have a lot of things to say with this list.
I guess for the key focus, yeah.
For the key focus, yeah.
In terms of standards, is that implementing existing standards or being like?
So I put standards there because there's a TypeScript is a great example. We had this conversation like 6, 7, 8 years ago. I put standards there because 6, 7, 8 years ago I would have been like CoffeeScript, right? And are we just going to implement something like Bun and Deno have, and Randall has actually said, like maintaining the TypeScript interpreter is like really painful. So like, why are we trying to do something like right now? There was a bullet point in this section about what end of life CJS. So now we have like, are we going to make the same mistake again and be like, let's do
I think,
something with TypeScript?
like in the past discussions on TypeScript in our deep dive, the strategy that we came up with was we're not going to implement it in core, but we want to make it easy to use TypeScript with Node. That was the current.
Yeah, well, not necessarily. So there are quite a few, like if this was, we hashed it out, and I think we have a good solution for this. And essentially, if you can bring it down to more or less a three-step approach to set it up, you are removing all the friction from people. So it's create a package JSON, install TypeScript, and put in your tsconfig, and then you're done. Okay, and that's that solves the problem. And then node dot file dot node space file.ts would run. And if it's kind of a blast approach or something, it solves the problem for people. Okay, and it's. Well, not necessarily, because then it's their choice to install TypeScript. Okay, it's yeah, but that's the problem. Like again, that's the solution. Like we cannot even with all we want vendor TypeScript because with no Semver is useless. Okay, it's at this point in time, like we won't be able to guarantee any long-term support on it. So. Yeah. Yeah, but that right now is not great. So because right now this, sure, we don't have good APIs for them. That's what we are doing.
Instead of saying TypeScript, we should say great hooks into the file system APIs, great hooks into like
Yeah, that's well, but it's not, no, because if you just put if you don't specify, like for this initiative, for the Next-10, you need to put broad theme, and we want to add APIs for a specific purpose.
Well, if TypeScript is going to outlive the next 10 years, then hopefully it's going to become spec, right? So that's why I put standards and I put JavaScript, because our focus should be on JavaScript.
You also, yes, I agree, but adding the APIs, that chunk of the community, which is like 80% of the people using Node these days, it's we should probably listen to what they need. So if we need to give them a few hooks, added hooks to support them.
Slow to do, like, I get that it's tough to move slow to do what the standards, like to get things standardized, but I think that we'll eventually be in the CJS ESM situation again in 5-10 years if we're making.
Yeah, we're not vendoring it, so yeah, no, I agree on that topic. So anyway,
but I mean, I think the source of the problem here is that there's no TypeScript maintainers in this room having this conversation with the Node project, and I think that needs to happen for this to ever land in a way that's actually healthy.
That's not. We talked to them. They told us that to not integrate it.
I get that. What I'm saying is that I don't think the Node project is the group in charge of making this better. The TypeScript project is,
yes, but
right, and they need to be involved in this for it to ever be a healthy partnership. And I think currently they have said that
no. They said they do. They said do not vendor it. So what they say is do not vendor TypeScript ever.
Sure, and I'm not arguing with that, and I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is for the Node project to have healthy TypeScript support, I think that needs to come from the TypeScript team, right? And if they want to be a blessed part of the Node.js experience,
the TypeScript team do not care about that.
And so what I'm saying is that I don't think we collectively as a project at Node.js are going to be able to make a great experience if that is where they're at.
Yeah,
right?
but it's not their goal. Okay, so
It shouldn't be ours because
it should because people do Node something dot wants to do and want to do Node something dot ts. All half of the developers, newbie developers or stuff, wants to do that. And the people that are more on board on these are, for example, the folks from TS Node, or all those kind of projects that allows you to run TypeScript file directly, or even the test runners, or all those people, all those constituents of our community that are asking for better hooks and better support for doing the things that they're already doing today with monkey patching and all sort of hacks. And we break them all the time between multiple node versions.
Yeah, yeah, to be completely honest, I don't know why Node doesn't have hooks yet. This goes all the way back to CoffeeScript. They were requesting hooks for the same thing. It's absurd Node doesn't have hooks yet. If we can get that in, that's basically a punt and a way of saying, okay, we now make it easy and available for you to integrate it. If the TypeScript team doesn't want to do it themselves, I'm sure we'll have a community that will step up and maintain that. But Node, in my opinion, should only be responsible for the hooks into the loader. And we should have had that 10 years ago.
I'll say that is our plan. It's just we haven't had anybody who's actually done it yet. So, yep.
I
So,
think
okay, so TypeScript is kind of like standards. I think we're trying to understand what it meant in the context of this list. TypeScript obviously will have to come back, maybe some more deep dive, but
yeah. So different obstacle barriers. So Bandino, I don't.
yeah, whoever put Bun and Dino on our obstacles, do you want to expand on?
Or
that
just for
thought?
the fun too. Sorry? Was it open? I don't know.
So I think in regards to seeing like other runtimes on here, I mean, I didn't add these, but there's also some cards at the bottom that's like other JavaScript runtime. This will create confusion for junior JavaScript devs. I think all of us here have seen some of the stuff that's been come out from either of these or other other runtimes, and there's been efforts with the Winter CG as well to try to standardize some of that. I heard the word standard come up a lot, and we also have the standards working group, which I'm excited to learn more about today, because one of the things I think is to note is that the Winter CG has been working pretty effectively, and I would love to see how we could be, how Node.js could be more involved there. I think there's a couple of maintainers of Node who participate there, but not necessarily in representation of Node. And so there might be something more to investigate there. And I think seeing Bun and Deno as obstacles and barriers, maybe more so like, I think it might be better to think of them as the focus areas. Like why do these other runtimes exist? What are they doing differently? And also, what are we doing the same? I think we've all seen Deno's trajectory change quite a bit over the past year to look a lot more like Node.js's. And it's interesting because there's an opportunity to maybe standardize some of that across these runtimes. And there is a place to do so, the Winter CG. So is there a pathway there?
Okay. To be honest, I don't really have. I guess that's a big topic that should be discussed across people from Node.js, but also Bandino, Winter CG, and other like communities and people. But yeah, it would be great, I think, for the user to have something that is more standardized across everything, to work with multiple technology without learning new stuff again each time. One of the key issues seems also to be CI/CD/Flaky test. I think there is nothing is really new here. A full topic about sustainability and also a new contributor, like mentorship and ramp up of new contributor. I guess NPM, great. Yeah. But I think it will be the same topic with every package manager, like not being standardized, or is it not? Yeah, okay. Okay. Topic about the rigidity to adhere to Web API when we are not in a browser. And a specific topic about CGS, but I think we'll talk about it a lot. And Slack, okay, I think, okay, too much channel in Slack. And what's working well seems like everything meeting being recorded, being online plus recorded and put on YouTube is great. People and team autonomy, the community itself, the collaborator summit, minimal breakage, working group. Okay, so Slack is great, but Slack is too big. Great. And running part of the project outside of the main repository, so we discuss a bit about it like in a few minutes before, so yeah.
Okay, so maybe if we can now just take a few minutes. I think same thing before. You had 6 votes. Sorry,
Checking that, but it should be, yeah, it's 6 votes. That's done. Someone did it.
Oh, there we go. Great.
Is it good for everyone? What? 6 also, yeah. Okay, so the main topic seems to be, I think, even if you can still vote globally, so key focus area would be to increase the outreach, new contributor onboarding, growing long-term collaborator, and standards with JavaScript, base interface, stuff like that. Obstacle would be Node.js is really complex, NPM and lack of standardization, plus flaky CI/test. And working well, community and team and autonomy working group. So that's great.
Yeah, I think this all gives us some good feedback in terms of things that are important. I think the next session, which is on keeping the community healthy, is going to dig in a little bit more to that one we saw in terms of obstacles, about complexity, bringing in new collaborators and stuff, so we can talk a little bit more about that. I think we wanted to, on here, if I look at the slides, we were talking a little bit about deep dives. Serverless is one that we've already thought would be a good deep dive, but I think we came up with a few others while we were talking through here. It sounded like HTTP, actually, here, if I can go back.
So yeah, HTTP was one of the key topics. It seems also we already had one like a year ago, something like that, but could be great to have a new one about what changed, what's new, and what's needed in the ecosystem.
It's kind of like we needed a follow-up because we made progress on fetch, but then, where do we go from here? There were some others that I'm trying to remember that were other good topics. Like I think TypeScript again is one where like I think we had a plan from one of our last discussions, but like we haven't acted on it. So maybe revisiting that again.
I think the discussion would be more about hooks than just TypeScript, but how to link something to Node.js.
Yeah.
And if you have other idea of deep dive that seems to be important,
any other area that you think it would be good for the Next-10 group to organize a virtual deep dive where we can bring people together? There was one comment, like on TypeScript, we don't have the TypeScript maintainers. The good thing about those virtual deep dives is we have been relatively successful in getting people who came from the TypeScript one. Similarly, when we dived into the single executable applications, we pulled in some people from outside the project, and so. Yeah, that's effectively what they ended up being, is we had Node collaborators and we had people who were from a bunch of different places that were interested. Okay, so package JSON standard, is that the way you would put it?
Yeah.
Any others?
Yeah.
Newcomer docs.
Newcomer?
Newcomer docs.
Docs, okay.
Like, just to go a little bit on this, there are many different documentations for different parts of how to contribute in different parts of Node, but there is no one centralized get started page where it centralizes and really dives deep, on information, so people get very confused.
Any other suggestions?
Conversation, I think.
Nope, I missed the newcomer.
New talk. That look like to be a good start of future deep dive. Oh, sorry.
On that newcomer, I think we should have a broader discussion that the just newcomer docs on the deep dive. I think it's we should treat it of more of what kind of so the problem that we need to get better at is how. So we used to get a lot of new collaborators in the fold, and we had a few new collaborators in the fold in the last couple of years, but it seems that then our numbers are getting smaller, and the code base is getting bigger, and the two things do not play well together.
I think our whole next session is on that topic.
Yeah, okay, so, perfect. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I know. I just wanted to mention that it's just newcomer. Maybe it's I think it's more of a feature of that kind of discussion, and rather than a specific deep dive. Okay, I think
I agree. It could be like we're going to have a little bit of a start because we have an hour session on keeping the project healthy. But yeah,
it's because and maybe bring in that deep dive, bring in a few other folks that are not that are friends but are not part of the project itself, because it might be that we are missing some point of view from people on that specific. Again, leveraging the fact that it's remote and so on might be helpful on that one.
Okay. And before we move on, any other deep dive suggestions? Hands up. What was that? Oh, okay.
We'll fix that.
Okay, I am going to declare. Okay. I'm like, we're done. Okay, that's a good answer. We're done. So the next session is keeping the project healthy. Do we need like a 10-minute break though? Or is everybody just ready to go? It's just 10 minutes? No, it's another hour. Okay, so why don't we say like
5 minutes?
Yeah, let's take 5 minutes. So basically, let's be back for 12:27.